Alright. So... I want to check to see where we're at with this as well, because I think I'm going to let this go until tomorrow yet, since I forgot to let everybody know that we were going to run out at some point. So take a look at that now, guys, so you can see where it's at. I think around the time I get off work tomorrow is when we'll call it for good, and that'll be the next game that I play. We'll see if I'm going to be up to streaming tomorrow or not, but just so you guys are aware. Yeah, it's been jumping back and forth between Octopath Traveler and Paper Mario. I'm probably leaning a little bit more towards Octopath over Paper Mario, but we'll see where it goes. I'll play either or. Alright, spoiler free. Yes, we definitely did that, spoiler free. Okay, Grayson, think here. Alright, I love the music in this game. I guess it's the same composer as Final Fantasy XII. You could definitely hear renditions of it and things like that as well. But goddamn, like, I like a lot of 12's music, but there's a lot of music in 12 that it gets old very quickly, and it's very repetitive and things like that. I felt like I just really enjoyed this OST. There was some really, really well orchestrated tracks and stuff like that that really made me feel more than I would have in any given situation, and I always give props to that when a situation can be built up even further by just amazing music playing at the right moments and things like that. And they definitely did that with this game. Very solid OST. I would highly recommend just about everybody giving it a listen. Even the tracks that you're playing during missions and stuff like that, they fit the scenario and they fit the setting. I'd say it might not have nearly as many tracks as some other RPGs do, but it's a really, really solid experience. If you are new to the stream and you just started watching the game today and heard some of the music, I highly recommend just checking out the OST. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 10. I really liked it. I'm going to add probably about 75 going on 80% of it to my playlist. I just really enjoyed the music. You don't hear me say that very often, that music though, so, you know. Anyway, graphics. Okay, so I have it for the era here, and I didn't play a whole lot of PS3 games, and I don't really know what to compare it to, but God, I love the way this game looks. I love that draw aesthetic to it. Like, it took like cell shading and things like that, but having that like drawn book aesthetic to it because it's a story that's unfolding. I really thought that was cool. It wasn't super cartoony or anything like that, other than maybe like the ragdoll physics when people got shot or like blown up and things like that. And it's got this like comic book aesthetic to it almost. And then you got the sounds that show up on the screen and stuff like that from the guns or the steps that the people take or the tanks and things like that. It's really like living a book, almost like think of an adult telling a child a story and how a child's imagination and stuff like that runs wild with all the details and things like that. And it's something that they completely like take with them for the rest of their lives and remember. It felt like that. It was so well done in that regard. It fit the game so perfectly. I really don't have any complaints that I can think of with the graphics. The animations of the characters and stuff like that are really well done. The characters conveyed a lot of different emotions, some that I could feel just by seeing their eyes and things like that. I really don't have any complaints. It was colorful where it needed to be colorful. It was dark and dreary where it needed to be dark and dreary. It's really, really solid experience. I was pleasantly surprised by how good it looked. So, I don't really know. It feels weird for me to rate something a 10 in graphics because that would be like the epitome of perfection, right? Like there's no issues with it or anything like that, but I can't think of anything that I disliked about the graphics. If I would have gotten this game on the PS3 and stuff like that, I would have loved it and it would have been like one of my top tier games. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a 10 as well. Alright, So, the story. I enjoyed the story. It's a little cliche here and there with the whole, the love story and things like that. Come on, we knew it was coming. And the whole denying seeing someone's feelings right away and things like that. But it wasn't like a really cheesy thing like we see in a lot of other games. I tend not to be interested in war stories or politics and things like that. That's why I really had fun with Disgaea, I think, as a tactics game. Because Final Fantasy Tactics and the other tactics and things like that, they get super political, you know? They get really involved with the details of the country and everything else, and you kind of, you play to that a little bit, and the characters kind of go to the wayside when it's more about the country and things like that. And this game was a little bit more focused on just the characters, how it was affecting them, how they just wanted to save a town. They didn't want to become these heroes. They didn't want to save the world or anything like that. They just wanted to get their town back. They had their own ambitions. People died for them. And your characters could die as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I really didn't like about the story. I don't feel like the villain had too much reason for doing what he wanted to do, which is a common occurrence in a lot of RPGs. I guess he was mistreated as a child. He basically expressed that. I won't go super deep into it, but basically he was treated poorly, which we see a lot too, and he was fighting for his dreams, and he had people surrounding him and fighting for his dreams and stuff like that as well. But I feel like he kind of lacked ambition. It didn't mean that he wasn't a bad villain. He definitely did some stuff that made you hate his guts. He was a difficult fight. You kind of had sympathy for the characters that were around him. And I always think that caters to a good villain as well. So I think that for the story, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9, and I'm going to say that my main complaint with it was that the villain didn't really make much sense. As a nation, it made more sense than the character that was kind of pushing it forward and things like that. He just kind of wanted power. I guess that's common for games like that and things like that, but I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me, but the story around it was incredible. I don't know. The characters, though, and things like that, it's so freaking good. So freaking good. Now, you know what? I'm giving it a 10. The villain's not going to piss me off enough. Alright, so, mechanics. The mechanics in the game are solid. I'd say that my biggest complaint with the mechanics is a few of the missions where they kind of are skits, where you have to do certain things in a certain order at certain times, basically. And if you don't, you're going to fail the mission. And the game kind of tries to express these things to you by pausing for a second and telling the player, oh, hey, look, there's these things over here. Or, oh, hey, maybe we could do this and stuff like that. But by that time, you might have your characters at various places around the map. You might have spread your characters out completely, nowhere near the objective that this game wants you to focus on and stuff like that now. And that's a turn wasted, and sometimes that's just enough to fail a mission. And then it becomes this thing where you feel like you're doing the exact same thing every time, and the RNG with which caters to like JRPGs and stuff like that is non-existent at that point, other than the ridiculous misses. It kind of ruins some of the missions. There was a few of them. The first major tank fight, I did not like how that was set up. It's set up for you to take it down basically a certain way, and then somehow have your units in a specific place so they don't get killed immediately by this other unit that's flying across the screen rapidly. It doesn't really express that you can throw grenades inside of a thing either, even though I thought I tried that. The stealth mission where you have to kind of take Alicia away because she's hurt and stuff like that, that again was just, you gotta do stuff in a specific order at specific times and things like that, with a little bit of stealth in it. It wasn't like a complete stealth thing, but it was like, oh, this guy's gonna be here at this time. You have to go over to these things and pick them up. The lights are here. So I didn't really like that one either. There was one other mission that I did today that I wasn't too big of a fan of, but I'm for whatever reason, I'm having trouble jogging my mind about it. But let's talk about the classes and stuff like that. The class system in this game were great. I feel like maybe the class I used the least, especially early, were Lancers. I felt like the tanks did a better job at taking out other tanks because they didn't die immediately, and you could hit them from way further with better accuracy, and at the same time I could protect my other units. So I felt for the longest time that tanks were just OP, and I focused a lot on them and my other foot soldiers that could get up in like people's faces and wipe out a few enemies very quickly and have decent mobility. However, then the game completely takes a flip right at the end, and Lancers become the most important thing. Like, they become absolutely necessary, and not just one, not just two, but a few. And I think that's one dynamic that I wasn't too fond of. I would have liked maybe to be forced to have it throughout the entire game, kind of a mix and match, because I tried to use everybody, but I just got to a point where some of the classes in particular fights they weren't useful. And there's something that can be said about that. The ability to have a mission going in where you might not need a particular unit, but again, you don't know that when you get into a mission. You get some details, you can kind of see the layout of the map, but you can't see all the little like divots in there, you can't see where all the different guns are going to be, where enemies are going to be hiding and things like that. So until you get into a mission the first time, you never really know what's the best stuff to bring. So you kind of mix and match stuff. You want a little bit of everything. You don't want to be in a position where you need a Lancer or something like that and you don't have it. And I think because all the classes were useful to some degree, that you could kind of go with that strategy, go with a little bit of everything, and it worked okay most of the time. But I also found the missions that I failed, I tended to not use particular units then. I found out what worked for it, and I just used the few units that did work, and I didn't focus on anything else. I probably should have reloaded and started the fight from scratch and put in different units instead. But in most cases, I just let a few units sit and do nothing. But if we talk about the classes a little bit more, they do exactly what they say they do. You've got like a mid-range target that's good at scouting and letting you know what enemies are on the map and things like that. So the scout does that really well. It's got really high mobility. What is it? I'm just gonna call it Stormtrooper, but it's Shock Trooper, I believe. Does lots of damage. It's really good at getting in the enemy's face and taking out a bunch of units very quickly. Lancer's good at taking down structures, tanks, and things like that. Engineer obviously does a little bit of everything, and the Sniper is really good at taking out units from far away. It's very obvious what they do, and they all work really well. I would have definitely focused on how I leveled up my classes a little bit differently if I would have known the mission structure and stuff like that. Now that I do, if I ever were to play the game again, I definitely wouldn't focus on Lancers so early. I would just focus on the other classes, which would make a lot of the earlier quests or chapters easier. And then I could invest more money and more experience, because I'd get more money and more experience because I would do better on the chapters themselves. I love the idea of it being in a book and you being able to flip through the pages, getting the different bits of story here and there, being able to skip stuff if you wanted to, then seeing the chapter layout and stuff like that in the book. I'm adding that as a mechanic thing because it had to do with like going through menus and stuff like that, and you were kind of going through the glossary of this book and looking at different things. I liked how the classes leveled up. I liked how they gained new things. I would say the thing I did not use, and I should have used probably more, was orders. But I was always afraid of wasting a turn just to buff somebody up or something. But they seem really overpowered, so I should have used them a lot more, I think. That's a mechanic I definitely missed out on this playthrough that I wish I didn't. But at least I utilized it a little bit at the end. But I have to say that this might be my favorite tactics game that I've played. I had a blast with it. The third-person perspective, being able to do some first-person shooter type stuff, which I haven't done in a long time. It just felt good to mess around with that. The JRPG elements of being able to level up classes, to be able to level up different weapons and stuff, catering to my playstyle. Using a tank, which I've never really played any like tank-type games or things like that, so messing around with that. It just was really solid overall with everything. The damage boost order, even scouts and shock troopers can kill tanks from the back. Ah, okay. I tried to damage tanks from the back a few times with really varied results, so I just stopped doing it after a while if I wasn't a lancer or a tank. I would say that prior knowledge to a few of these missions makes them a little too easy. For instance, the mission that I put my tanks in the 2 corners and then destroyed the tanks as soon as they spawned. That's the type of thing you're not going to experience the first time you try to go through a chapter. So if you do fail the chapter, you kind of get this concept of, oh, I can do this. And in most cases, you couldn't just cheese it, but there was a few that you definitely could. I feel like I did the one against, I can't remember his name, the other tank guy that we fought near the end of the game. I just straight up wanted to go to the center. Yeah, Jaeger, thank you. I wanted to go to the center, I wanted to place a point, and I was going to spawn a whole bunch of stuff. But then the tank drove in front of me, and I'm like, huh, okay. It drove in front of me, let's try to shoot it from behind. I didn't know that it was plated with a crap ton of armor, but it still worked out in the long run. But I'll say just because of the structure of a few of the missions and things like that, that I didn't like too much how they did and how a few of them were a little bit cheese-worthy, and you could definitely take advantage of them in that regard, I'm going to go ahead and give the mechanics a solid 9 out of 10. There was definitely a few things that I would fix, but very little. Very, very little. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure I missed out on a lot of them, and that's why I always recommend all of you, like, shout out crap in Discord so that I can go back and read it later after I finish the game. Yeah, you know, that fight was really long, and that... It didn't end up being hard, but at the same time, there was a lot going on that I didn't understand how it was working. I would try to get behind her and shoot her, but then she would turn around. But if I was too far away, I wouldn't do any damage. I wasn't understanding exactly why she was moving the way she was either. For a while, she was strolling back and forth, and as I started taking points, she kind of like hugged in a corner somewhere. But although it was a really, really, really long mission in comparison to some other ones, I had a little bit of leeway with camps and being able to respawn people and things like that. I was more worried about not finishing it in 20 turns than anything else. But yeah, there was a little bit too much that wasn't explained in that fight that I would have liked. But that was just the boss enemies in general in this game, I feel. There was little weird mechanics to them. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. I thought if I smoked, then I wouldn't be able to hit her either. Because I smoked early to get out of her attack range, but when I was next to her, I could have thrown a smoke down. But I was too afraid that if I was already missing her, I was going to keep missing her. I should have tried that. Alright, grinding. I did not grind at all in this game. There's definitely the opportunity to. There's these skirmish fights that might have added story, and I'm a little sad I might have missed. That would have given me a lot of money and extra experience and things like that, I'm sure. I only did all of the missions that the game provided for me. I didn't do any extra missions as far as I am aware. And I was more than strong enough, I feel, to finish the game. It was rough, but it was possible. And if I would have leveled up my classes a little bit better and things like that and been a bit more prepped for the final boss, maybe not spend all my money before seeing what the final boss was like and stuff like that, I wouldn't have struggled quite as much. But I didn't have to grind. I'd say the most grinding that you have to do in this game is sometimes the movement of the enemies and stuff like that was a bit slow. So if you had to redo a mission, you're going to be sitting there for a long time watching the same stuff over and over again. The last boss is a perfect example of that. If you have to redo a mission, some of the missions are also just really slow. The big tank fight's really slow because it's slow, and to do everything and move all of your characters and everything else, it's a really slow thing to have to redo over and over again. Same thing with that other big tank, the thing that starts with an M. I'm sorry, I can't think completely right now. That mission where we just had to destroy a few things and get it to follow us and things like that. It took a long time to move and do the same stuff, so I failed it a few times, and when I figured out what to do, Marmota, yeah. So I'm gonna say that, and maybe this is something that people would put in mechanics, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it in grinding, because I feel like whenever you're redoing something, or whether it's your choice to do it or not, it tends to become a grind or a slog. I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8 in that regard. And that was probably like the worst aspects of the game between some of the mechanics and the grinding and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm torn between giving the game a 9 or a 10. It's like if I don't give 9.5s and stuff like that myself, and shit, I forgot to set this up for you guys to vote because I didn't think, because we already have a straw poll going. Let me get this set up before I keep doing my thought here. So another thing I have you guys do is I like to see you guys rate the game as well. I like to see kind of where you guys were at in comparison to me. It makes it something interesting to talk about as well. So if you don't mind taking a few seconds to go ahead and rate this, I'd really appreciate it. I think I spelled everything right. Alright. There you go. Alright, so I'm very likely to recommend this to just about everybody. I don't know how many people will really play it, but I feel like it's a game that's definitely worth experiencing. Whether you choose to go through the entire thing or not, or beat it, I think just for the art style and the music and stuff like that alone, and the uniqueness to the mechanics to take a tactics game and make something like this out of it, I think that it was like, I couldn't have asked for more. It's definitely been one of my favorite games that I've played for the tour, and one of my favorite games that I've played for a long time. I just didn't want to stop playing it, to be completely honest with you. It was great. It was very close to Nier in that regard. I'd say Nier is maybe a little bit more of an enjoyable experience to me overall, because I enjoy action-adventure slightly more than tactics-type games. But I will say that this game renewed a, fire inside of me to play tactics games now, and I'm kind of going to miss it. Yeah, well, that's another thing that I like about it too, is it's kind of cartoony, Nickerty, in a few ways and things like that, but it's got so many fantasy elements and stuff like that that are completely absent from, games like Modern Warfare and everything else. I really did not know what I was going to think until I started playing it, but I loved it. I loved every moment of it. And you know what? I just don't have enough complaints for this game to say that I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a solid 10. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys give it a shot if you haven't already. I think it's a game, it's really cheap right now. You can get it on Steam. Give it a shot, see what you think. I loved it. Alright, and thanks for voting, guys. Normally I give you a little bit more time to vote, but I was stupid and didn't get it ready to go at the start. We do some math. I think that it's a somewhat niche game, just like I feel Nier was. But it doesn't stop me from feeling like I would recommend it to everybody. Even a person, like I said, I feel like it's the type of game that someone can play and get something out of, regardless of whether they finish it or not. there's a lot to be taken from this game, especially with the art design, with that aesthetic of it being drawn and things like that, and catering to the music that's playing at the same time. Alright, let's see what you guys gave it. You guys gave it a solid 9. Exactly a 9, actually. Will I replay this? I don't know. Not for a while, probably. However, I'm curious to see the story stuff that I missed. I know I didn't do some of that type of stuff, the books that you could do. Those were kind of side questy. Some of them were really good. The one about vegetables was really stupid, but also goofy. But I'm kind of interested in them. And I know that there's other games in this series, genre, something like that. I'm not sure if it's like a continuation, side story, complete new adventure, or anything like that. But I'm interested to see if they are as good as this one was. So I'm going to go ahead and say, not for a while, watch some YouTube videos. Alright, what's today? Oh, it's the 6th. Okay, it took us 30 hours, 40 minutes, and 33 seconds. How many streams did that take us? 3? Something like that? I can't remember. Oh, 2? Ha! My days are blending together. Alright, well, that being said, you guys know what time it is. It is raffle time. All you have to do is type in the word raffle, and it enters you in a chance to win and pick the next game that I play. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that Nightbot is not in there this time around, since he just won the last poll, and I will never let Nightbot win twice in a row. That's too much madness as it is. Oh, man. But yeah, if you're a fan of JRPGs, if you were here watching this game, you can go ahead and take a look at the list and see if there's any games in there that you would be interested in seeing. And if you win the raffle, you can take the chance, give it a shot. Maybe you'll win and get to pick the next one. Oh, man. We do have a 15-minute time limit to pick the next game. It might be a little bit shorter today because I have to go get a shower and go to work. But we'll see. I'll give you guys about... I know I don't normally stream around this time, so we don't have too many people here, but I'll give you guys about 2 minutes yet to go ahead and enter the raffle if you're interested. Alright guys, I really appreciate all of you that sat around here with me tonight, today, this morning, and made some progress in the game, even finished the game. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your weekend with me. So yeah, good luck everyone. 3, 2, 1, go. Lotto the Legendary Hero 88. A new name indeed. congratulations, my friend. Let me know that you're here. Go ahead and send a message letting me know. And then you get to pick the next game. Alright. Go ahead and take a look at the list. And see if there's a game you'd be interested in watching. And seeing me fail miserably at. Alright, that'll be game 60. Lotto, the Legendary Hero 88. Dragon Quest 1, okay. Dragon Quest / Dragon Warrior. I'll just leave this quest for now. What did I do with the other ones? I did quest for the other ones. No, it's not my first time played. Okay. Go ahead and mark this green. Alright guys, I normally do a raid whenever a stream finishes. So let me see if I can find somebody, but I don't normally stream till this time, so it might be a little difficult. But thanks again, Lotto, for picking the next game. We will find out tomorrow, or today, rather, later today, what the next game's going to be, and then after that, it'll be Dragon Quest. Alright, let's see. Anybody streaming? Anybody streaming? What do you guys want to say for a raid? A small, short raid. Rata 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 rata. Oh man. Alright, I'm going to raid Holy Smith. Yeah, I'm going to work. Immediately. No problem. Thanks for sticking around. I'm gonna go ahead and raid Holy Smith here, guys. If you guys want to spam whatever, let's have some fun. Let's wish him some luck on his Super Mario RPG rando testing. Looks like fun. Looks interesting, at least. Thank you. I'm gonna need it. And I might actually drink some coffee today. Thank you guys, I really appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for spending time with me this weekend. I really appreciate it. Have a great start to your week.